Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. As you can see, we are outside. We are at the beautiful Warren Conference Center, taking advantage of their lovely landscaping. On today's show, we're going to be speaking with Kim Sternick, who is the general manager here at the Warren Conference Center, talking about their new University Community Club that they'll be introducing come October. We'll also be talking to Roger Gu, who is a past Ashland swimmer, who just spent some time at the Olympic trials. We're going to get to talk to him about that experience. Of course, we also have our select board update and a very short Around the Town to share with you. So stay with us as I bring you Around the Clock. Welcome back to Around the Clock. It's time for our Around the Town tour. We have two stops for you today. The first stop is at the Corner Spot, a very active place this summer as we recognized and acknowledge the resignation and retirement of Chief Vin ALFANO. After 3 years here in Ashland, we brought the police and fire personnel as well as some town personnel and some volunteers to come together and recognize his retirement. There was a few words said by our town manager, Michael HERBERT, as well as some words by Joseph MAGNANI, the current chair of the Ashland Select Board.
I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of your day to come over here. I know it means a lot to the chief. It means a lot to me. You know, today is obviously a bittersweet day because we're here to celebrate the chief's brief but impactful tenure here as our police chief. And I was thinking, as I was coming over here today, just this job presents so many things that are just unexpected. And sometimes people are put in your life for a reason and you don't really know why yet, but then all of a sudden it becomes very, very clear. And I remember when Chief Davis retired, I was faced with the decision of, okay, I need to find an interim chief, somebody who could keep things going, keep things stable. And Vin's name came up and we met and we developed an instant rapport. And it just felt like the right thing to do, to bring him on as an interim chief or an acting chief. But then, after a few weeks, it became very, very, very clear that this man is a very special man and brings a lot of talents and a lot of skills and characteristics to the table that we needed, not just in an interim or acting capacity, but as a full-time capacity too. And the fact that we had a lot of things going on as a department and as a community, things that he had experience with, it just seemed very, very clear at a very, very, very early time that Vin was put in our life to make a difference in this community and help us do a lot of things that we had talked about doing as a community and moving forward. So we had the conversation and he was willing to stay on board. Let me rephrase that. Christine was willing to let him stay on board. And I can't thank you enough for your willingness to give him up for all of this time, because this is not a 40-hour per week job. It's, as I was telling Rich before, you're lucky if you get 40 hours of rest. And the people at home are the ones that have to pick up the slack. So thank you very much, Christine, for your sacrifice and your willingness to do this. But Vin just came in and just became a part of our community, and it just felt like he had been here for years and decades. And as you all know, the town has made great strides under his leadership. The department has. We've got a new building coming up, I think in large part due to his efforts and his ability to work with the public. I've said this before, I've never met a chief who is into neighborhood issues as much as Chief ALFANO is. And I can't tell you how important that is for a town manager. Somebody who understands that it might be a little problem for a neighbor, or it might be, a neighborhood problem might be a little problem in the grand scheme of things, but it's a big problem for that neighborhood. And he takes it seriously, and he works to help resolve those issues. But again, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end at some point. And the chief has reached a point where he's looking to move on to the next chapter of his life. And that unfortunately means we have to look at a new chapter without him as well. So all I can say is, from a personal standpoint, I have greatly appreciated everything that you've brought to the table. From a professional standpoint, the advice you've given me on a professional and personal standpoint, I'm going to miss you. I'm going to miss you a lot. And I wish you all the best. Joe has a little bit of a different perspective here, because not only is he chair of our select board, but he was also a police officer for 34 years. Sorry, I almost said 33, and I didn't want to get in trouble.
That's okay.
But Joe, do you want to say a few words?
I would like to say a brief comment. Besides, thank you. Thank you for taking over a very difficult position when it was time to take over. I was walking out of a meeting with Michael one day, and he told me he was thinking of making you an interim. And I saw you out in the hallway, and I looked at you and said, why don't you take it on a full-time basis? And you looked at me and you said, you really think so? I said, I know so. I said, our career paths have followed one another. When you were in Framingham, we were parallel to a number of years. And I knew you then, and you hadn't changed one iota. You were diligent and a very professional person back then. And you went up to Bolton. I hadn't seen you for a number of years, and then you came back into this area, and I said, he hasn't changed at all. So character doesn't change. So I'm very grateful that you became our police chief, because the professionalism that you showed, the character that you showed, as not only just as an individual, but as a chief, and the leadership that you provided during a time when it was needed. I just wanted to say thank you. It made Mike's job a lot easier, and it made ours as the select board members easier, because we didn't have to hear all the complaints that we used to hear all the time from the citizenry of the town, because you would take care of it. So I wish you the very best in your retirement. All right? And should you decide to come back, we'll talk about that later. I know that your wife is looking at me, shaking her head. Previously, no, that's not going to happen. But good luck in your new endeavors and your best wishes. And again, Ben, thank you very much for everything you've done for this community and for our department as a whole. And we'll definitely call you back when those doors open up for the new year.
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for all you do. Right before I started speaking, I asked the chief a very stupid question, which was, would you like to say a few words? Okay, Ben, you've got the floor.
Thank you. Christine brought the hook, so when I go too far, she's used to it. She'll yank me out of there. And Warren Nelson, the chief in Bolton, who came after me, knows that. So first off, I hate parties with a passion. You all know that. I'm a very quiet person, but I am absolutely moved and humbled by the fact that all of you took time to do all of this. This is just phenomenal. I am speechless. Number one, the fact that everybody's here, and number two, you have ice cream and you have meatballs and all the important things in the world. And I think Lisa Ugliaro had something to do with that, but I'll have to investigate that further. But I will tell you, probably without question, one of the most difficult decisions I had to make in my life was to return to retirement. All of you here, no matter what department you're in, have been like a second family to me. And that's the way it's been. And that's the way it's going to continue. I'm going to send everybody all my personal contact information, and you're all welcome to come out. There's always a pot of coffee on, or a beer in the refrigerator, or ice cream, plenty of ice cream. So I want to stay in touch with everybody here. I'm only just a phone call away. But I said this when I first started in Ashland, and I'm going to say it now that I'm leaving. I still have a week to go, by the way. is the fact that Ashland is a very unique community. I've worked in very big police departments and I've worked in smaller police departments. And it's like the Three Bears. Ashland's right in the middle. And it's a very comfortable, the most comfortable fit. It's a small town with big town issues, but everybody still remembers everyone's names. The firefighters, they're all brothers and sisters to me. Doug, who's hiding in the back, he's like a brother to me. He's unbelievable. The talent that is in this town. Where's Chief Roby? There he is. I've had to serve as his spokesperson for a while, but he's really good at speech making now, so get him out there. I absolutely thank Mike, and I thank the board, Joe, all of you, all the select board, for the faith and trust that you placed in me to come here. And it was a tough time. It was a tough time for the police department. There was a lot of instability. I think stability is very, very important. You have stability in a town manager, and you've seen what happens. You've got stability in your police department now. I applaud Mike's decision and the board's support to appoint Lieutenant Briggs as the acting chief. That's what the department needs with me leaving. You're going to see nothing but forward movement under his steady hand. So that's a decision that I applaud, and I certainly thank you for that, because I know those are tough decisions to make nowadays. But it worked out well in Bolton. He's still there, still the chief, and he was my right-hand man in Bolton, and he's in the new building that we built, which you're all welcome to go up and see. It's sort of a small version of the one that we're going in. But if I said thank you to everybody for all the wonderful things you've done to me, I'd be here all day. So I'll say a blanket thank you to all of you. You're all very, very special to me. Talented musician right there, Dale, all of you. Just phenomenal experience. But I think there's still a lot of things I have to do left in my life. The one thing I can't control, whether I have these stars on my shoulder or a gun, is you can't control time. You have no control over time. So I say to all of you, live every day with the people that you love and your friends and the people that you work with to its fullest. Because this past year, I've lost too many friends and too many colleagues. People I've worked with my entire life or have been friends my entire life, and not just from COVID. So that really had a lot to do with my decision to retire, because I still have a lot left that I need to do. But all of you, this has been one of the most important chapters in my life, and you're all still there. There's a little piece of all of you in my heart, and I take that with you. And I'm going to come back and drive a snowplow for Doug, so who knows? He keeps begging me.
Take out a few minutes.
Our next stop on the Around the Town tour is over at Stone Park for a summer concert. Yes, last year there were no summer concerts, and it's so nice coming out of COVID to be able to have those summer concerts again. There are only going to be 4 this year, so there was the one on June 30th, there'll be one on July 13th, and then you can check the Ashland Day schedule for the rest of the concerts. Let's go take a look and a listen on the steamy night and hear some great music. Well, it was a short one, but that wraps up our Around the Town tour for this episode. If you have an event that you'd like to share with us here at Around the Clock and WACA-TV, make sure you reach out to us, and we would love to share your event with our viewers. Hello and welcome to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. Today I am speaking with Kim Sternick, the General Manager of the Warren Conference Center. Kim, welcome to Around the Clock.
Well, thank you very much. What a pleasure to be here.
So, Kim, we are here in the White House on the Warren Conference Center, the house of originally Henry Warren.
This is Henry Warren's home. This is the Warren House,
Okay.
appropriately named for Henry, which most of Ashland is familiar with Henry Warren and the clocks. We're sitting in the Maple Room, which is right outside of Maple Row, which is a row of trees that were planted for an acquaintance of Henry's who was getting married here and went down there. Above us is our Telecron room, appropriately named for the Telecron clock. And we have the clock lounge, and we have a lot of memorabilia throughout the entire property and its history around its invention, its coming to fruition, and its purchase, its endowment to Northeastern University, where Northeastern operated it for many, many years. And then, as of late, owned by now Framingham State University.
So, Kim, before we get into more about the Warren Center and why we're here, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where do you live?
I live in Ashland. I have the
Nice.
best commute in the world. Yeah, about 6 minutes door to door. Okay. So I've lived in Ashland for since about 14 years, and I had an opportunity to make Ashland my home and my work. So
That's nice.
I never leave Ashland.
That's a great commute.
I used to work in Boston and used to do it 2 and 3 times a day when my kids were little. Now going to Target's really like a day trip.
That
for
other
me.
side of
Yeah,
Framingham.
exactly.
So, and how long have you been working here at the Warren Conference Center?
So I've been almost in November, it'll be 10 years that I've been here. And it's just an amazing place. And I'm so fortunate to have the opportunity to come here every day and work.
General manager, what does that mean?
I do everything. We, through the years, it's evolved, it's changed. I've gotten to work with many different people through my management team, through different events. We plan events. We do all kinds of things. Up until COVID, we did about 75% of our business was meetings, conferences, and outings. We always did weddings. That shifted a little bit in the last year. Now we're about 90% social business and about 10% corporate business. So our whole business model's changing a bit, and we're very excited to see what the hospitality industry brings forward, what the new norm is going to be in the next years.
Yeah, how was it through COVID? Did you close down at all? Or?
We were fortunate enough that when COVID first came, we were working with a research project with Boston Children's Hospital. We were doing a food study where we had, through Framingham State, had connected us, and we had in residence 30 some odd people who were here. So we were able to continue that. They were isolated. They had never left the facility. So we were able to maintain that. That concluded in May. And then we were closed intermittently, but we were able to do some events throughout all of COVID, following all of the guidelines that were in place. We're fortunate that we have a lot of outdoor space, and we're able to configure some things in ways that we were able to be entirely outdoors for just about all we did.
So you did mention that it was originally owned by Northeastern. They created a lot of the spaces here. Framingham State now owns it. As people drive by, we're seeing a little bit of changes happening. Parking, different things. What are those changes and what's going on here?
So there was a big old barn here. That's now was owned by the town of Ashland, and the barn is gone. The silo stays. So we're very excited about what's going to happen with that, and how we'll be able to continue to partner with the town for use of the replica or whatever it ends up being. We're also in the process of introducing a new concept with Framingham State University and the town of Ashland. We're creating a university community club. Which will allow for people to have more direct access to the state park. For many years, the town has always used the parking next to the tennis courts, and when COVID came, we had to close that. We've not reopened that as we're getting ready to launch the community club. So the community club, we will be increasing some parking over there. It will be a paid membership for an annual membership, and that will allow for close parking to access the trails. It'll also allow to schedule and utilize the tennis courts as well as the pickleball courts. And we're almost at 100% completion of a 9-hole disc golf course, which is going on through the woods area. It's fairly quite interesting. Yeah, it's really beautiful.
Because I was going to ask, you said a disc golf course. I'm like, you don't have that many field space.
Right.
So you're doing it through the woods.
It's all through the woods. One of our associates is an avid disc golfer.
Okay.
And has brought, he does a lot of tournaments in the area and has educated us as to the benefits of it. And it's a labor of love for him, and he's designed the whole course and worked through it and comes in and on a volunteer basis and has put together a fabulous little course. Wow. So it'll be 9 holes. And we're very excited. So with membership, you'll be able to sign up for tee times. I think that's what they call them. The start times.
It's golf. Maybe
it's
that's
golf,
the same.
Yeah. We'll also be offering social programming. So a whole calendar of programming every month, including fitness courses, classes. We really did a lot of research to see what people would be interested in, and we'll be open to ideas and thoughts and trying to make it something that's really a huge resource to the community of both Framingham State University and the town of Ashland. I believe when we have all kinds of committees going on to make sure that we're doing this right, and we're hoping to officially open for September 1st with maybe a softer opening in membership beginning in August. We're really excited. Yeah.
Good. So for people who are not familiar, how large is the space?
The property has 67 acres, which it is adjacent to the state park, and we're working right now with the DCR, who owns a state park, we're doing a rehab of some of the beach area that's a part of the property or part of the park. We've had a lot of erosion and things like that, so we've partnered with Framingham State with the DCR to improve some of the trails down by the waterfront area. And then we're intending to make not clear trails, but make them a little more user-friendly on the Framingham State's property as they access into the state park.
Now, I know one of the things that people enjoy doing is doing a full loop around the reservoir. Will that access still be available?
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. So the thing that'll be different is the parking. So for years, the residents from all over the place have come and parked there.
And enjoyed it, quote-unquote dog park, which we know it's not.
Yeah, we know it's not a dog park. So now it'll be actually permitted, and you'll be allowed to come here. It'll be more parking with different access. So we're really excited about that.
Nice, nice. I think we may have to come back when the disc golf club,
yes,
when the disc
we're
golf
very
course
excited
is open,
about
and
that. Yeah,
go take a look. I've never played disc golf.
We're also looking at the ability to rent and to have watercraft go out. We're looking at stand-up paddle boards and some canoes and kayaks. So we're excited about some opportunities that we have.
That's great. So when will marketing, or if people watch this and they're interested in the University Community Club, where could they reach out to for more info?
We're stay tuned. We have some information that's on Framingham State's website, and we are sort of going through all the frequently asked questions before we put links onto our website. And the membership portal we're hoping to have open for the first or second week of August. And we're super excited.
Okay, well, once we know that that's up, we'll remind people. Kim, so there's a question I ask people who have never been on Around the Clock.
Okay.
It's fairly easy. Is there something about you, Kim Sternick, that not many people may know that you'd be willing to share with our viewers?
Something about me. Let's see.
Something in your past that you've accomplished that not many people may know about, or...
I had the pleasure and the opportunity to cater a clam bake in Los Angeles, California for the cast and crew of West Wing.
Oh my goodness.
And got to meet and hang out and sit in on a filming of all that. I'm dating myself. That's an old show now.
No, but that's for someone. I'm dating myself because I love that show. Oh, wow.
That was really cool.
Very cool. Very cool. Who was the favorite person to meet?
Bradley Whitford.
Really?
Who I now see on The Handmaid's Tale, which is a wonderful series.
Yes.
Bradley Whitford was wonderful. George Clooney, I've had an opportunity to hobnob with some very famous people in my career.
Well, very good.
On the food service side.
On the food
not,
service.
not you.
Well, Kim, thank you so much for having us here at the Warren Conference Center. We look forward to hearing more and seeing when the University Community Club opens.
Yep.
And like I said, we'll have to come back and try out that disc golf.
Yes, very excited.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Pleasure.
And that wraps up this interview. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. Hello and welcome to the Select Board update for the meeting that happened on Wednesday, June 30th. We had a light agenda leading into the July 4th holiday week. We started with a recognition of Chief Vin Alfano's retirement. He has been with Ashland for 3 years, and on one of our previous shows, we were able to do a great interview with Chief Alfano on his retirement and his time here in Ashland. The Select Board took a few minutes to thank the Chief for all the work that he's done, and also to welcome and thank Chief Briggs now for taking over as our acting chief for the near future. From there, we had a joint meeting with the Board of Health. There was a resignation from the Board of Health. KG Nariano has moved out of town. We had 2 great candidates for the position. The Board of Health members had an opportunity to ask some questions, and the Select Board members had an opportunity to ask some questions. And John Burns was appointed to the Board of Health. He will be in that seat until the next election cycle, which is next fall. I want to thank both John and Rajaraman, for stepping forward. It's always difficult when 2 people step forward who are both equally qualified. So thank you both for stepping forward. We wrapped that up, went into our consent agenda. We had a few items. We approved a block party license for Wine Sap Way that's happening in August. We approved the appointment of Rich Briggs, who is now our acting chief, to our Public Safety Building Committee. We were notified of an appointment to a part-time library assistant and the acceptance of a grant. From there, we went into old and new business. We discussed and put in place a remote participation bylaw. What this means, this has nothing to do with what's going on with COVID, but this now allows committees and boards in Ashland for someone to participate remotely, as long as they can be heard by the other people who are in the room. So if someone's traveling or is sick and can't get there but is still willing to do the meeting, they are allowed to participate remotely. Again, this is not tied into the current remote participation that is allowed by the state, but this is also general chapter from the state that allows us to do that. From there, we discussed fiscal year 21 year-end transfers. So at the end of the fiscal year, which was yesterday, we are now in fiscal year 22. We look at funds that have not been used in certain departments, and they get moved into other departments to help cover any possible budget deficits that are happening there. For all of this information, if you want to see the full detail and the full discussion, you can watch the full Select Board meeting that is presented and posted by WACA-TV. From our old and new business, we then went into our priority projects. We had one area that we spoke about, and that was on Chestnut Street. We reviewed, approved, and then would have our chair signing the P&L for 433 Chestnut Street, the purchase and sales agreement. We've been going back and forth on this in regards to the historical restrictions and things like that, but it is now all in place. So as you drive by 433 Chestnut Street in the near future, you will see work going on that to revitalize that building for someone to live in. Not too much from the town manager to report, nothing on our agenda officially. Again, it was a shorter meeting. One thing we did all end with was wishing everybody a happy 4th of July. And that's the Select Board update for the meeting that happened on Wednesday, June 30th. Hello and welcome back to Around the Clock. I'm your host, Yolanda Greaves. Today we're having the opportunity to speak with Roger Gu. Roger, welcome to Around the Clock.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you guys for having me.
Did I get that last name right?
Gu, yep.
Gu, okay, great. First of all, tell us a little bit about yourself. You're an Ashland resident, or were an Ashland resident. When did you swim here in Ashland?
So I swam throughout high school, and I graduated 2016.
Okay, and then you went on to Tufts?
Yep.
And you swam on their team. What was that like, making that transition from high school to college?
I thought it was a pretty easy transition. I think that was mostly due to like the coaching staff at Ashland being very supportive and like definitely helping to prepare me for my time at Tufts. And like the team cultures were actually very similar. It was very much a group of friends who were like swimming together and like having a good time. So yeah, I
Nice.
didn't think the transition was too tough or anything.
Okay, you were just at the Olympic trials. The Olympics were supposed to be last year.
Mhm.
So what preparations and how did that happen that they didn't happen last year for you, and what was that like?
Yeah, so when I first heard that they were being postponed for a year, that kind of made me like wary about like whether or not I was going to go. But because like the few months before trials happened, like the pool started to open up again, I decided like, why not? It's probably like realistically for me at least like a once in a lifetime thing. So I swam for maybe like 2-ish months before. Um, and yeah, I mean, once I decided to like start getting back in, I guess in my mind I committed to going.
Now, what allowed you to qualify to even go to the trials?
So the right after my junior year season of college or of like swimming in college,
Hmm.
I swam at a like random like season opener long course meet. Because for trials you actually have to swim like a long course time
Okay.
versus in college we race short course. So like we race 25 yards normally, but then to qualify for trials and like at the Olympics they swim 50 meters.
Okay.
So I had to swim at a meet to like meet the time standard.
And what meet did you wind up competing in?
Um, it was the meet at like Brown, I think. It was just like a club meet,
Okay. And what distance did you wind up competing in?
50 meters.
Okay. Okay. So was going to the Olympics something you had dreamt of as a kid, or did it just happen?
Nope. Yeah, it definitely just happened. I feel like throughout my entire swimming career, I was very much more in it for like having fun and never
Okay.
really considered like I never really set like super hard goals for myself. A lot of it was more just like qualitative, like, am I having a good time? Like, am I working hard? But then like junior year of college, that's when I won the 50 free at D3 championships. That's
Okay.
kind of like junior year was the year that I was like, wow, like if I take this a little more seriously and like really like train hard, like maybe something cool could happen. Um, and yeah, so I never like planned on going to trials or like anything like that, but definitely just happy for the opportunity to do so.
So what would you say to people who are either considering it or they're like, okay, I really want to swim and I want to be competitive. Do you have
Mhm.
any tips for them as to what do you think helped you get to this Olympic trial?
I think I guess in terms of tips, like it would be easy to be like, oh, just work harder, like make sure you like swim hard every day, like focus. But I really think that like I got super lucky and like my whole journey there was very much like made possible by the support of like the people around me and especially like my coaches on like my club team, like high school or at Tufts, like they're the ones who kind of really made me see like the potential that I had. And I think that if someone's looking for like tips, I guess just like trusting yourself and trusting your training and to not get like too mental.
Okay, so you graduated from high school in 2016, which means you
Mhm.
probably graduated from college last year in 2020.
Correct.
So did they just move all the qualifiers to this year? Because you weren't swimming, you weren't at school this year. So how did that work working with Tufts to be able to go back and compete?
Um, so actually at trials, I swim as an unattached swimmer because
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have like a club team that I'm affiliated with. And then, so yeah, for most people, you swim on a club team, then it's like it's up to your team for like how they do training. But for me, I kind of just like I didn't like really work with the coach, but like asked him for some pointers and stuff like that. And he was nice enough to just like write some stuff up for me to train off of.
What was the hardest thing about being at the Olympic trials this year?
Honestly, I wouldn't say anything was like hard. I think the hardest part was preparing for it. I felt like once I got there, it was more just like the cherry on top of like my swimming career. Like I had no expectations going in. I really just like wanted to experience it and like make the most out of it. Yeah, I would say the hardest part was probably just like practicing alone and like staying motivated and like making sure I like got there.
Okay, and then in regards to getting there and being there, what was that like for you to be at these trials? And I don't know if you saw swimmers who were people who you had followed or idolized, or what was that like actually just being there? Not necessarily the competing, but the atmosphere and the sense of being there.
Yeah, so I think that was probably the most unique part of trials, which was that everyone there was just super supportive, super kind. Like all the event staff, like you could tell that they had worked in swimming or like were somehow affiliated because they like knew what they were talking about. They were all like super friendly. And I think just going to a place where I like normally swimming isn't as big of a sport as like football or like baseball or soccer. But going somewhere where it's like everyone around you like really cared about the sport, that was definitely a cool feeling. And yeah, like while I was there, it was fun to see like a few other of the D3 athletes that I had been racing throughout the years and just seeing them also like being there as kind of just like friends and like not really competitors or anything. Like we're all just there to enjoy it.
So you didn't make it to the Olympics, but it sounds like you're feeling pretty good about it. How far did you get and what was that feeling like?
So this year, because of COVID, they split trials into two separate meets.
Okay.
Normally it's one single meet, but so they split it into the faster half and the slower half. And I was in the slower half.
Okay.
But I did make it to the B final, so top 16 out of all the out of my half. And then I won the B final, so then I was placed 9th.
Okay.
So through that race, I like qualified for the faster half, but just with like work and everything, like it wasn't super realistic for me to be able to go for like a second week. But yeah, so no, I was definitely pretty far away. So
but still an exciting opportunity.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely had
lifetime.
a great time. Yeah.
Nice. Now you mentioned work, so what are you doing now, Roger?
Yeah, so I work at Johnson & Johnson.
Oh wow.
And I work on a bladder cancer drug device. So I do like R&D in a lab on that.
Very cool. Now, is that what you had hoped to go to school for and do, or is this sort of the first step in a further career?
Yeah, so I graduated from Tufts with a degree in biomedical engineering. So I guess this is kind of the most biomedical engineering you could get. And I definitely enjoy what I do a lot. But I think I am thinking about like potentially trying to go to med school in the future. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to explore.
Still figuring it all out, and that's okay.
Yeah, I hope so.
So, Roger, will you keep swimming, you think?
Definitely not as much as like when I was actually preparing to. But I think I do still like really love swimming. So it's like whenever I feel like it, I'll swim and like hopefully I'll find some way to stay involved in the sport. But for now, definitely taking a little break.
Well, good. Well, Roger, it was great talking to you about this experience. Before I let you go, there's one
Hmm.
question I ask all first-time guests to Around the Clock. And as
Sure.
you've never been here, and not too many of our viewers probably know you, this might be easy. Is there something about you, Roger Gu, that
Hmm.
not many people may know that you'd be willing to share with our viewers?
Wow. Um, Something that not many people may know.
Yeah.
Um,
Another thing you've done that people aren't aware of, someplace you've traveled exciting that people might not know, or
sure. I like gardening as a hobby.
oh,
I'm trying to
okay.
grow some strawberries now, but yeah, definitely not like a super intense gardener or anything, but yeah, I kind of dabble.
Did you do gardening when you lived here at home in Ashland?
Um, Not like extensively or anything, but yeah,
Your
because
parents
like we had
your
a
parents
backyard,
didn't get
so
you to
like
weed the flower bed or something, or
no, we grew more like tomatoes and like cucumbers and stuff.
fun. Good.
Yeah,
Well, Roger, thank you so much for speaking with us. Congratulations on how far you did get,
thank you.
and good luck. And if you ever as you keep going in your career, or if another swimming event happens, let us know, and we'd love to share it with our viewers.
For sure. Yeah, thank you guys so much for having me.
Great. Well, congratulations, and thank you again, Roger.
Thank you.
Okay. And that wraps up this interview with Roger Gu, an Ashland swimmer from class of 2016 who actually went on and got to swim at the Olympic trials this year. And that's it for this section of Around the Clock. Well, that wraps up another episode here at Around the Clock. Thank you so much for watching. A big thank you to Kim Sternick from the Warren Conference Center for talking to us about the new University Community Club, and also thank you to Roger Gu for talking to us about his experience at the Olympic trials. If you ever have a story, make sure you reach out to us, and we would love to share it with you. Enjoy the weather that we're having and enjoy the outdoor space. Thanks for watching Around the Clock.